The crystalline spires of Drakthor Prime gleamed under three suns, casting prismatic shadows across the grand hall where representatives from 40 species had gathered. Evan wiped grease from his hands onto his worn coveralls, feeling distinctly out of place among the diplomats in their flowing robes and ceremonial armor. "I still don't understand why they needed a mechanic at a cultural exchange," Evan muttered to Susan, his partner from the human delegation. Susan adjusted her translator pin, her eyes scanning the magnificent chamber. "Because half their technology is breaking down, and apparently we're the only species crazy enough to fix things that weren't designed for our biology." She grinned. "Besides, someone has to keep our ship running while the diplomats talk in circles." At the center of the hall stood an enormous instrument, easily 20 feet tall, with thousands of pipes ranging from thin as needles to thick as tree trunks. It looked like a church organ had mated with an alien spacecraft. The Draktorians called it the harmonic resonator, a relic from their ancient civilization, silent for 3 centuries. "Behold!" boomed Ambassador Zythera, her iridescent scales catching the light as she gestured with a clawed hand. The Dragoness stood 12 feet tall, her wings folded regally against her back. "The greatest treasure of our people, though it has not sung since the Great Silence. Our finest musicians have attempted to coax sound from it, but the secrets of its operation died with the old masters." Evan found himself drawn to the instrument despite himself. While the diplomats murmured appreciation, he noticed the exposed mechanisms, the complex system of bellows and pressure valves. His fingers itched to trace the connections, to understand how it worked. "The human stares," Zethra observed, her golden eyes fixing on Evan with amusement. "Does the machine tender think he understands what centuries of Draktorian artists could not?" The hall fell silent. Evan felt dozens of eyes upon him. "I think," he said carefully, "that it's not broken, just recalibrated wrong." Zythra's laugh was like rolling thunder. "Such confidence! Tell me, machine tender, have you trained in the musical arts of your people?" "I can play a little piano," Evan admitted. "Learned from my grandmother." "Piano!" The Dragoness's amusement spread through the hall like wildfire. Other species joined in the laughter, the clicking chirps of the Velkari, the harmonic hoots of the Somnathi. "This primitive percussion instrument, and you believe this qualifies you to master the harmonic resonator?" Susan stepped forward, her jaw tight. "The primitive instrument has 88 keys and can produce 10 octaves of sound. It's considered one of the most complex instruments humans ever." Zythera waved a dismissive claw. "Peace, diplomat. I mean no offense to your species." Her eyes glittered with mischief. "In fact, I propose a wager. If your machine tender can produce even a simple melody from the resonator, I shall personally escort your delegation through our sacred archives, grant you access to technologies we have shared with no other species." She paused dramatically. "And I shall take him as my mate consort, as is our custom when one demonstrates unexpected worthiness." The hall erupted in shocked whispers. Susan grabbed Evan's arm. "You don't have to," but Evan was already walking toward the organ, his mind racing. He'd spent 3 weeks repairing Draktorian environmental systems, learning their engineering principles. Their technology followed patterns, elegant, efficient, but rigid. If he was right about the recalibration, "I accept," he said simply. Zythera's smile showed rows of crystalline teeth. "Excellent. Attempt your melody, little human. We shall see if your species' legendary stubbornness translates to musical aptitude." Evan climbed the platform, his hands hovering over the console. The keys were sized for Draktorian claws, each one 6 inches wide. The pedals would require his full body weight. He studied the stops, hundreds of them, labeled in old Draktorian script that his translator struggled to parse. Then he saw it. The pressure regulator was set for Draktorian atmospheric density, 30% higher than human standard. The valve timing was synchronized for their slower metabolic rhythm. No wonder it wouldn't respond properly. "May I make an adjustment?" he called out. "You may do whatever you wish," Zethra replied. "It will make no difference." Evan pulled off an access panel, ignoring the gasps from the assembled aliens. His fingers found the manual override valve Susan had helped him install on every Dractorian system they'd repaired. He adjusted the pressure flow, recalibrated the timing mechanism by feel. Then he sat at the keys. His grandmother had taught him Chopin when he was 7 years old. She'd made him practice until his fingers bled, until the music became as natural as breathing. He'd forgotten most of it during his years in the merchant marine, fixing ships at the edge of colonized space. But some things you never really forget. Evan placed his hands on the keys and began to play. The first notes emerged soft and tentative, like dawn breaking over an alien horizon. The resonator responded to his touch, the pipes humming with harmonics that no human instrument could produce. He felt the vibrations through his feet, through his chest, and let them guide him. He played the nocturne in E-flat major, but the resonator transformed it into something transcendent. Each note spawned overtones, sympathetic resonances that filled the hall with layered melodies. The crystalline spires outside began to glow in response, amplifying the music across the entire city. Evan lost himself in the performance, his hands dancing across the enormous keys, his body weight shifting to work the pedals. He pulled stops intuitively, feeling which combination of pipes would produce the emotional resonance he wanted. The music swelled, powerful and delicate by turns, speaking a language that needed no translation. When the final notes faded, the hall remained silent for a long moment. Then Zythra began to weep, luminous tears streaming down her scaled face. "In 300 years," she whispered, her voice carrying in the vast silence, "no one has made the resonator sing with such sorrow and joy combined." She approached the platform, her massive form somehow gentle. "Machine tender, Evan of Earth, you have awakened something I thought lost forever." She knelt before him, placing one clawed hand over her heart's. "I spoke in jest, but I find I would be honored to bind my line to one who understands that all things, machines, music, souls, simply need the right touch to reveal their true nature." Susan smiled broadly. "Should I start planning a wedding?" Evan, still trembling from the performance, looked at the towering Dragoness with wonder. "I think," he said, "I'm going to need a bigger tux." The hall erupted in applause, not mockery this time, but genuine celebration. And in that moment, the assembled species learned what humans had always known, that the gap between machine and music, between different worlds and hearts, was just another problem waiting for the right person stubborn enough to solve it.